So good morning, everybody. Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Rich Rosalia, and I'm going to be the moderator for today's session. Before we begin, just a couple of housekeeping items to go over. Today's webinar should take about 45 minutes. That includes time at the end for Q&A. The participant microphones are set on mute. So if you have any questions you want to submit, please use the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen and just type your question in there. The session is being recorded, so if there's any coworkers or friends that you want to share this information with, or if you want to reference it in the future, it'll be available on our BridgePoint Technologies website. So as you know, today's session is focusing on AI tools and specifically why and how legal professionals should be cautious when using them. You guys may or may not know, but there's a lot of risks involved. So we're going to get into that. And those risks include accidentally breaching client confidentiality obligations and potentially violating ABA guidelines for technology competence. So we want to help you avoid those risks. We're very lucky to have Bob Furman as part of our team. So Bob is the Director of Service Delivery for BridgePoint, but he also serves as a virtual Chief Information Officer for many of our law firm clients. And being such, he's an expert on these topics, among other technology strategy topics for law firms. So without further ado, let me turn things over to Bob.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, this is being recorded, as you were probably notified when you joined Zoom. I will go through this pretty quickly, but you can always get the link if you wanted to go back and review links or other information on my slide deck, but I will move through this pretty quickly to respect everyone's time. So the main thing that's going on is you have new employees, no matter what size your firm is, be it 5 to 500. You have employees working within your firm, whether you know it or not, and they're all AI. They're either using public-facing ones, they're using AI that's now embedded in certain applications that you'll see examples of. So we call it shadow IT, or in this case, it'd be shadow AI. If you don't know what they're using, how can you be expected to monitor it and make sure that they're educated on the safe use of it? So again, if they're using tools that you're not even aware of, you wouldn't even know to see audit logs or anything else on it. In my opinion, with how things have been going over the last even 5 years, is AI is moving way too fast. People are using it without understanding the risks, their ethical obligations, their legal obligations. They need training, they need support. And part of what you'll hear today too is getting beyond just the prompt and response. It's an incredibly powerful. You can't avoid it. And I'm not saying you should avoid it. I'm saying you should restrict it, monitor it, and educate. 8AM is a legal IT vendor. They did a survey of a bunch of professionals, and they came back with some key takeaways. The bigger one is the bottom one, they're using 52% or what's in front of them. So that's a good thing, bad thing. May not be the best, but it's there and they're using it. But the top bullet too, the progression, it's the percentage of people that are adopting it is one of the fastest technology shifts ever. So, if you were in a room and you asked all your colleagues, hey, who has used AI to any capacity for generating some kind of work product for our law firm? Some people won't raise their hand because they think they're getting in trouble. And that's the concern, is they need to be trained up on it. So the top rights, you'll maybe recognize some of these popular legal IT platforms, be it practice management, time and billing, DMS, document management systems, or legal research. Then there's public ones too. Most of our businesses and across global is Microsoft 365. They are shoving Copilot down everyone's throat, whether they want it or not, in terms of the free flavors, which you get, some very good power from it. If you want higher integration and it digesting even more data that lives in your Microsoft 365, email, SharePoint, OneDrive, you got to pay for a license. But Copilot is everywhere. It's in Word, Excel. It's now appearing everywhere. You see even the little logo. And then there's the big ones like ChatGPT. You'll hear Claude and Grok and some other big ones out there. What you don't hear about I have an Excel spreadsheet from a conference. It's over 200 public-facing websites that use AI for generating graphics, for generating content, writing LinkedIn articles, scanning your resume and applying it to an Indeed.com posting. Those are the ones that maybe aren't as supervised and ethical, and those are the ones that have even a larger risk because they're kind of off the main table of popular chat GPT. Microsoft did a big study on, what came out of, AI in their study. What I want to point out on this top one is they inadvertently, in my opinion, they inadvertently admitted that Microsoft as an organization can go poke into AI chats of their client base because they say a privacy preserving analysis of 100,000 chats. That wasn't Microsoft employees. This is them looking at other people's chats to the extent where they could say they were doing cognitive work. That caught my eye when I was prepping for this presentation. I'm like, they're admitting, and I don't think they meant to, but they're admitting that they can see your stuff. Well, if they can see your stuff, if their guardrails aren't properly programmed on their AI, is there a risk that your data could leak inadvertently to another law firm using Microsoft Copilot? I would say probably not, but these are the concerns you need to hesitate on. I don't trust them 100%, but the bigger ones like Microsoft, you think would be tightened down more than others. So it's just make sure you dip the toe in the pool with knowledge that the water may be very cold or very hot. It's an unknown at this point because of the speed of it, what it's moving. This slide is just to demonstrate aspects of AI and how you could use it. This will, to me, be geometric as well when people get beyond just chatting. So, what's the weather tomorrow? What does this legal definition mean in Missouri and probate? You know, that's a prompt response. The real power of AI, and I just saw an article this morning about China just released automated robots that are on assembly lines. And they took making something from, 5 an hour to five every 15 minutes. So AI is absolutely going to impact every single aspect of every industry, and very quickly. This one just hit the news this week, last week for Microsoft 365 Copilot. This is my point about even Microsoft's moving too quick, that a single link, if clicked by a user that came through a phishing email or other source, could potentially have exposed that person's emails, files, OneDrive, everything, without even having to put in a password or a code. So AI is being used to attack as well. Microsoft, saw Claude Fable as a version of Claude, and they saw that they changed their retention somewhat silently, but people like me that do read the privacy policies, they noticed it said, well, we said we never retain any data. We just take it and give you feedback and then we drop it. We don't store it. They suddenly changed it that they're keeping it for 30 days. And reading into this for my prep, one of the articles even said, if you go read the language, it actually says, not at least, but it says, and maybe more. So we keep it for 30 days and then like wink, wink, maybe more. So Microsoft said, we can't have that. So we're not going to use Claude. They banned it. Then you've got Fable 5, very specific version of Fable, came out, and 3 days later, I think it was, this is just last week, the federal government said it's so powerful, we're going to ban it for export. Because they are nervous that the incredible power of Fable 5 would allow cybersecurity hackers to crack into basically any government, CIA, NSA, anybody. So they immediately said, no, stop, you can't export it. This is an AI risk quadrant that there's a company out there, Adversa, that they took 15, 11, I forget how many components, and they analyzed them similar to like a Gartner quadrant on software or services, and where you want to land in the top right is usually where you want to be, and you'd spin that into marketing, showing how great you are, your product. The thing I want to point out is everything's kind of left and, down. These are various popular AI agents that have been evaluated by a third party that focuses on AI and privacy and everything else and keeping those guardrails, validating them. And the big one that came out of this one, that last bullet, trust us is really what they came back with. Is your AI secure? Yes. How? How can you demonstrate that? Trust us. They have no public evidence. 83% of them could provide no public evidence as to what they do with their AI to protect the information that they're ingesting, either to keep it isolated on an island for that law firm from another law firm's island. So this is my point of moving way too quickly and a lot of risk. I do this in cybersecurity training for customers, and I set people up to fail because then I think it resonates more. I'll say, name a free search engine, and people, some one or two people can't help themselves. They'll shout out Google. I never said money. I said free. So it's not free. They are using the extraordinary amount of value of who you are, what you do, what you're interested in, and they turn around and sell it repeatedly through Google targeted ads and other mechanisms. So that's including YouTube because Google owns it. So this, and by the way, this slide I made with ChatGPT. It took it about 45 seconds. It was a first graphic it presented. It was like spot on what I wanted. So this is what I mean about it's incredibly powerful. You can't avoid it. You just need to make sure that people are using it properly. So the Google browser isn't free. AI also isn't. And I pulled this video down to kind of demonstrate why ChatGPT is, you can pay for certain versions to get more power, but most of them are free out of the box.
I think that Sam is having an affair.
I'm really sorry you're going through this, Alice. That's an incredibly difficult and painful situation to be in.
Now bidding for the data of lot 874. Female, age 35. Emotionally vulnerable. Sold. Lot 297. Mother and son. Candidates for targeted advertisements. Sold. Bidding for lot 598. Investment plan of hedge fund Blackwater Associates. Predicting growth in medical markets. Sold. Lot 538. Unpublished mRNA cancer research. Sold.
So the point here is if you were doing patent, trademark, merger and acquisition, stocks, bonds, IPOs, and one of your associates dropped something into ChatGPT, they could inadvertently have exposed, that thing that's about to happen. So you got to be very careful with this, and this is why education matters. So why should law firms be using it? A competitive edge, efficiency, being able to do more with less people, being more accurate, finding that magical case that, you wouldn't get from Google or Lexis by itself. You want to use the Lexis AI or Westlaw AI. But the thing is, you have to be careful what you feed it. I say when it comes to AI, be a traditional American, be a consumer. Take, be very careful what you give. And when you do give it anything, make sure it's not sensitive information. So you have ethical guidelines, you can have liability, you could lead to a lawsuit, you're going to see sanctions that are coming out of it. The other problem is with AI attacking, if you let somebody into your system, it's not just ransomware type activity anymore where they encrypt all your data and then they tell you got to pay, Bitcoin for $2 million within 40 days. They usually are in there for 3 to 6 months now. They know just like Google, they know the information's more powerful than just ransomware and hoping they pay Bitcoin. So for law firms, lawyers, there's these ethical requirements that you've all probably seen through your professional liability CLEs every 2 years. The big blowout is the blue bubble there, that AI is to be treated no different than an employee, like that first slide with all your air quote new employees. You still have an obligation to make sure whatever any AI feeds back to you, that it's independently reviewed. That is your obligation. So the thing I don't like about most AIs, if not all, is I've never had an AI engine say, I don't know. It will say, oh, that's interesting. I'm not sure what you're after. Could you rephrase your question? But I've never gotten an I don't know, be it a technical question, I'm doing scripting, coding, or just looking for information, marketing information, or anything else. It will never say, I don't know. They will hallucinate. Hallucinate is the term that's used in AI for AI filling in the blank. The other thing is they absolutely have bias. They're all different, be it politically, religion, as well as sentimental bias. The big one that most of them have is they want to feed you what they think you want. It'll use the way how you craft your prompts is very important because it will steer you towards what it thinks you want, and it will lie. Like they call it hallucination. Sounds like, oh, it's a medical issue. No, it's lying. There's so many of these happening now. There's a person that's tracking them globally, which is pretty neat. The link there is at the bottom. And you can go in and even search by state. I don't expect you to read this. It's an eye chart, but this is the recent ones from Illinois. And it tells you, when it happened, what court it's in, et cetera. And you can drill in to see, where there's sanctions. So sanctions are coming out now specifically to AI. This one was 5,500 each. And I found this, which I did a golf clap for this judge, made him go to training. And you've already heard me say it like 5, 6 times. Training, training, training. Support what they're using, train them how to use it efficiently and accurately, and always to never trust and independently verify. But this judge not only made them pay money, he also said they had to go to a class, which I love. And then there's, talk going that the higher the court comes out where you're inadvertently misciting due to AI or otherwise, the sanctions will get bigger. This one was $15,000 each. And they said this goes beyond AI. It's just you turned in work that wasn't accurate, be it AI or a paralegal or a law clerk that wasn't properly supervised. It's kind of irrelevant, but it was, we know, AI. I don't have this on the slide, but one of my stories I stumbled over is I think it was out of Australia. A lawyer cited a case, went into court, they challenged it, and they looked it up and they found out that she found the perfect cite and summary for her action. And she got so excited about it, she put it in her pleading, thinking it was her slam dunk, and found out that the AI had ingested a television script from like Law and Order CSI or something, that it wasn't even a real case. She just AI fed it to her as if it was a real case, but it was just from a TV show. And this one I found
Salem-based
interesting
attorney
too.
William Giorso
Not
has
throw
been
your
hit with
staff
an
under the
Oregon
bus.
record-high fine for submitting an opening legal brief with at least 15 fabricated citations and at least 9 quotations that do not exist.
The state's response brief pointed out that a number of the citations in the opening brief and even quotes in the opening brief that were purportedly from cases don't appear to match any cases that they could find. And frankly, we followed up and we could not find those either.
Giorso explaining how the inaccurate brief came to be.
My law clerk was using a search engine that we've now completely discarded that is the explanation for that.
But presiding Judge Scott Shore pressed the issue.
It couldn't just be a search engine. Something produced and wrote the brief that your name is on, correct?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
This a result of AI hallucination.
That was the judge's polite way of saying, nice try. This is your fault. Your name's on it. So do everything you can that you or your colleagues aren't standing at that podium getting lectured by a panel. This one's another one I came across, also very recent. Both sides in a case got kicked out. Both sides misused AI and made bad citations. So now each customer on each side has to go out and hire a new attorney and restart the whole action and pay other attorneys to get caught up to speed. Probably would lead to litigation against the previous lawyers, would be my guess, for attorney's fees. So these are happening already. So you got to do everything you can to prevent your firm from showing up and somebody like me doing a report on it and damaging your brand. So again, it's all these rules and ethical obligations. Doesn't matter, it's AI. If you're submitting it to a court, you have an obligation to review it and make sure it's accurate. And I know I'll probably get a question. Well, I'm using Lexis and Westlaw. Will they ever hallucinate? Probably not. But without me able to see the code, not that I could even understand their code in their AI engine, it's still worth independently verifying. Especially remember that bias. Don't get so excited about a magic citation. Pump the brakes and go independently verify that that's still accurate law and that it was an accurate case. So part of it is this leakage that can happen when I talk about integration. So like Copilot's integrated into Word and Excel. It's not just people going to ChatGPT and dragging an Excel file in there for help on a calculation, forgetting there's all these other sub workbooks in that Excel file that have social security numbers, personal information, financial information. I know CPAs have dragged in financials and say, help me do cash flow analysis. I mean, that you just gave all your company's sensitive financial information to a public engine. So those are the big ones, the drag and drop. But little ones can happen too, using these APIs, application programming interfaces that are AI embedded into Word and others. But if you use it responsibly, it's great. You know, it's faster drafting. Your research you're going to get to the research you want more quickly. It might even give you the subsites. You know, I'm old enough back when I worked in a law firm that it was all the key sites going book to book in the library. You know, where we had to reinforce the floor in Sears Tower because we had so many books and the weight, right? So it's completely changed over the last 20 years, if not longer. But AI is legal research, electronic legal research on steroids. You'll see some examples here from some of the vendors I've got coming up. And it reduced workload, right? You bring in 10 more clients, but you don't have to hire another 3 staff or associate paralegal admin. You can do more with less. So Net Documents is a DMS. This is just a quick, simple one. So their AI embedded into it. You know, this person asked it a question and said yes, and it summarized what,
Meet Ask iManage,
I
your
managed
AI
another
legal assistant
DMS.
built right into your workspace. Ask iManage understands your work, your documents, and your needs. Have a question? Just ask. Quickly retrieve the answer. No digging, no guessing. Or use our guided actions. No prompt expertise required. Ask across sets of complex documents, from lengthy contracts to court documents, and get one answer delivered in seconds.
And then Clio
Manage
time
AI
and
is the
billing.
next evolution of your Clio workspace. By integrating AI across Clio Manage, you can streamline your workflows, mitigate risks, prioritize work, and deliver timely, high-quality work. To get started with Manage AI, click the Manage AI gem from anywhere within Clio Manage to open the AI Launchpad. This central hub shows you exactly how Manage AI is integrated, allowing you to schedule events, automate billing, analyze documents, and get fast answers about your active matters.
Spend more time sharing your expertise and less time on admin with Archie AI, your secure, context-aware matter assistant. Guided by your firm's matter details, files, events, and emails, Archie turns hours of work into tailored responses instantly, so you can focus on delivering your expertise where it matters. Swift answers to case queries, lightning-fast summarizations, with direct links to sources for complete peace of mind. Review documents in moments, uncover discrepancies, extract critical details, and put yourself on the front foot.
And then this is Thomson Reuters Co-Counsel. It's AI, but more. It does more of a deep dive rather than just legal research. And this is where I say getting beyond just a prompt, a chat and response. This is prompting it, getting information, telling it to create some work product, telling it to create the email, and you know, it's extraordinary if accurate, right? That's always the if accurate. So it's already have a template, it populates it, creates the materials, attaches it to an email. This is where AI comes in, the strength and the power of it is that productivity, accuracy, and everything. It's just ensuring that you're using the right tools. The tools can be trusted as much as possible, and you're training your staff on how to properly use them, not just is it going to rain tomorrow. So to me, the way a roadmap would go would be you analyze what are your staff using now, and you tell them nobody's going to get yelled at. This is to improve what we're doing. Be honest. What have you been using that you find has value to our work product? Then you sit back and analyze those. Are they trusted? Are these ones that we should be using across the firm? Are there fees involved? Do we have to upgrade licensing? Because you get some stuff for free. A lot of those from those vendors, you may have to pay extra beyond your normal, you know, iManage or NetDocs license. It's not cheap to have these AI engines running. You've probably seen controversies about data centers and water usage. So the price of RAM has gone up, memory for laptops and desktops, because all the memory chip manufacturers have pivoted to making memory for AI. It is changing the world at an accelerated rate. So anyway, you assess what are we using, how should we use it, and then make a policy. The policy could probably go out sooner than later because of my concern of people not aware of the risks. But as quickly as you can from that policy, or at the same time, I would recommend a pilot group, depending on the size of your firm, is how many members of that pilot group would be. And those would be the ones to show the really cool stuff that maybe some people aren't aware of, like creating a graphic. Compare these two documents, like you saw in the one, it said, well, in one document it said the divorce date was June, the other one said it was July. Things like that, to teach people how to use the AI and then deploy it with training. Train, always, just like cybersecurity, at least once a year. But it should be a peer group sharing, hey, I just found with this AI and what Lexis, you can do this, right? Or over here that we've got approval to use is here, but everything should fall back to that policy. You need to do carrot and stick, because not one thing will work. You reward them for doing it right, and you punish them. I learned this from being at attorneys that did labor law and employee handbooks. The last sentence of every policy was could lead to discretionary things that'll happen up to and including termination. And they have to sign right under that they're admitting if they abuse the policy, they could get terminated. So this little draft policy I put together to cover all the items above. This would absolutely be tailored to your environment. My story is always, you got a estate planning attorney on one side of a hallway and a estate planning attorney on the other side. They do things differently. So there's no boilerplate. You would definitely want to review this policy and add and remove things that you don't feel would maybe align with your culture or type of work product or your practice areas. The examples, are important to me, that they know what is okay, and then you give them prohibited examples so they know what's not okay. And again, at the end, they got to sign it and say it could lead to termination. So it's an ongoing thing, but my advice is sooner than later, you have to start telling people what they can and cannot do, and not to scare them, because you have to use it. I mean, it's unavoidable, and it's so powerful. You just have to take this information to pump the brake a little bit and make sure you're not putting your clients or your firm at risk. So day zero is probably where most people are. They know it's there. They assume people are using it. They think they've used it, and it's, wow, it's pretty neat. It's pretty cool. Or they're just using Lexis and they're not using other tools. Now, if you have a marketing department, there's so much cool stuff coming out of graphics and everything else, and content and videos. But if you go through this roadmap, 3 months, maybe a little aggressive depending on the size of the firm, and you guys are always busy selling time, so it's hard to have a pilot group and have meetings to develop the policy. But I think in 90 days you could probably pull it off to where you're got a little warm and fuzzy feeling about AI now, instead of the unknown and the scary stuff that I showed today. So it's here, it's being used, whether you know it or not. There's definitely risk in it because people don't understand it, and sometimes they may not care. They're like, I just need to get this done. My partner is breathing down my neck. I got to get ChatGPT to help me do this. And that's my biggest concern. You don't know what's being dragged and dropped or uploaded or copy and pasted. And they may have good intentions, but they may inadvertently be putting private information into the public AI engines. So then governance is, the policy, the carrot and the stick. We're going to provide you with tools and cool prompts or cool workflows, trying to get people beyond just the prompt and response. In this bottom one, it's not going to replace attorneys. It's just going to be, they're going to be able to do more with much, much less. But the important thing, again, is to independently verify before you put your pen to paper and submit it electronically or otherwise. So that was my quick run through. I wanted to leave time for Q&A.
Yep. Thanks, Bob. So we do have about a little under 15 minutes remaining. If you do have any questions that you want to ask, please use that Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. Bob, there are a couple of questions in there right now. So the first one is about the governance program roadmap.
Let me go
I
back to the
don't know
demo.
if you want to go back to that slide. So the question is, how can BridgePoint help with this? Is it part of the plan that I have? So if you
Yeah, no, this would be a one-off. BridgePoint, you know, would primarily be me for the law firms because my background and my knowledge of AI would be it would flow this way. What are they using now? You know, you try to get people to be honest. What are they using now and why and how? Validate those mechanisms. Are they trustworthy as much as can be defined, as we saw with even Microsoft Copilot? Nothing's going to be perfect because of the speed of which it's moving forward. But you find the ones that are being used, you validate them, and then you find other ones that are being used, and you say, oh, yeah, no, that one's bad. That's got to go away. And that quadrant, maybe it's in the bottom left or something. So then when you do that, then the policy gets crafted, which, I have that template. I would work with the, the management of the firm, and we do the policy that they're comfortable with, and they deploy that. And then at the same time, based on when you do the assessment, you're usually going to know the people that should probably be members of the pilot group that see the value, whether they're an associate or a managing partner that's 5 years from retirement, but they're just, jazzed up about AI. You want that energy to come into a pilot group, and that they have good examples to share with people that have maybe never touched AI. And then you deploy it, and then you train. Again, you want to train on risks, rewards, and how to use it. So that would be, it would be a project, depends on the size of the firm and people, the pilot group, and how many meetings that BridgePoint would be involved in. But yeah, that is absolutely something we could help with this whole roadmap.
Okay, great. Next question is, so I think they're asking about like how do they know if the tools that they have are safe?
Well, that's the big assumption, right? Oh, it's Microsoft, it must be safe. Oh, it's, I'll use Fortinet on firewalls. Fortinet's a very large manufacturer of security appliances. They're in the news now because they're vulnerable. I'm a zero trust guy. That's unfortunately the way you have to be. There are vulnerabilities in everything until they're discovered. It's the 0-day discoveries that are concerning. If a hacker gets it before a cyber researcher and notifies the manufacturer, because this does go on, where if you're a researcher and a coder and you find a flaw in Microsoft Windows and you announce that to Microsoft, they actually give you bounty money. So some people do that as a living. They will go out as a white hat hacker, the good guys, and try to find vulnerabilities that nobody else has ever discovered, and then notify the manufacturer to fill them. With the speed of AI, I would say none of them are 100% at this point. But right behind that will say you can't avoid using it. It's the take again, the take as a consumer, be very careful what you give it. You don't give it client names. You don't give it specific financial information. You give it concepts that you're looking for that will maybe steer you. That's the assessment, is finding the ones that align with risk and reward of the input and the output. It would take an assessment. You can't say no to LexisNexis or Westlaw. At a minimum, you're going to have legal research that should be used. My part would be, does that co-counsel from Thomson Reuters add enough value for whatever their fees might be? Because again, my gut is it's not going to be inexpensive, because they've already spent millions of dollars developing it and building data centers out to support their mechanisms. They're going to charge that back. They are not a nonprofit, as we know with Lexis and Westlaw. So you'd have to do that ROI analysis, which I could help with a little bit.
Okay.
But it does come down to more productivity, more accurate productivity, less people. Then that expense is bigger, depending on your practice areas. Most law firms have templates. I know that. They repeat, they change, they update legal research. It would be taking advantage of that. Most of it's template driven and feeding that into AI that's contained. You want that self-contained for your law firm, your data, and never goes anywhere else. But it would be an independent assessment of every AI tool currently being used.
Okay. And then the last question is kind of a two-parter. So the first part of it talks about blocking things like ChatGPT. And then
Yeah.
the second part of it talks about auditing how employees are using what
So
tools.
there's a couple mechanisms. So the zero trust mentality, BridgePoint uses a zero trust agent. It's a piece of security software that we deploy to all our customers' endpoints that do not allow anything to get installed. It's similar to the old school of whitelist blacklisting of emails. It's similar to that, but much more powerful. Of Adobe Reader Update.exe, by name alone, that could be ransomware, a virus. Our endpoint analyzes every single file on a computer, and it looks for a digital fingerprint aligned with the manufacturer. If it's not in the catalog of known trustworthy applications, it gets blocked. There may be some false positives, but that's how you have to operate anymore. It's a zero trust. You don't allow anything on a machine unless it's been validated. So we could block through that zero trust agent even legitimate AI engines. So if your policy is Bob scared me, I don't want to use Microsoft Copilot, I want that disabled. Using our zero trust agent, we could do that at the API level, at the DLL level, at the application level. We could prohibit it. Our zero trust agent also does ring fencing. So I can say, don't let Word talk to Copilot. Don't let Word talk to the internet. I mean, there's all kinds of granularity we could do to lock down an environment from that zero trust agent. Secondary to that would be you can do what's called WCF, web content filtering. Back in the day, it was big for I want to block social media, political organizations, religious, violence, weapons, drugs, legal media, Napster. So web content filtering could be used to block access to public-facing websites that provide AI, but that would only work on our with devices that had our zero trust agent because it piggybacks on top of that zero trust agent, where we can also add the service to block access to websites. And that would be true if they go to Starbucks, their house, a hotel, a seminar. As long as they got that zero trust agent on it, they are not able to get to AI engines that your policy prohibits. The balance there is if you make it so difficult, if you don't give them something else to use, they will, and I've heard of this happening, they will email a client-related Excel file from a work email to a personal Gmail. They will go to a personal device that's not protected. They will open up the Excel file there and save it and drag it into an AI engine. So if you cripple it, be prepared for going back to that ghost AI. They will go use it somewhere else.
Yeah, so that gets
without you having visibility.
Question about tracking how they.
Yeah, so for tracking, could you catch that in the log? Sure, but when you get into log capture and capturing logs is easy and expensive because there's so much data. I don't like log tracking by itself because if you're not monitoring it or have an AI look for, hey, I just saw this guy emailed his personal email, an Excel file with sensitive information. That's called DLP, digital loss prevention. There are mechanisms out there built into Microsoft and others that can do that, but the price goes up if you get into that big brother monitoring. That's why I prefer to do a strong policy, strong education, strong carrot, strong stick, so you don't have to get into those mechanisms. But there's a platform out there called ActiveTrack. It's a third-party system. It's I call it Big Brother on steroids. We're partnered with them. You can put ActiveTrack on a employee's device, and it tracks everything similar to the zero trust, but it's more about how many times they go to YouTube, how much time do they spend in Microsoft Word. It's like a productivity analysis tool that would provide management and supervisors that ability to see what they're doing, but again, only from a work device.
Hey, Bob, one more question came in here. Would blocking Copilot increase the available space on a laptop?
Well, that's an interesting one too, right? The infamous Windows temp files, an IT way. So they're not temp, they're permanent until you manually delete them. There's a lot of bloat in any software, including Windows. Storage is the least of my concerns, as much as the risk. But yes, any application that's running on your machine, be it a plugin, a Chrome plugin, or some plugged into Word, you added some custom, like even NetDocuments has a plugin to Outlook, that takes up space on your C drive. Any more storage hasn't been the concern as much as the risk. When Copilot first got turned on, they got their hands slapped big time in the community because it came out that, again, through these cybersecurity researchers, Copilot was taking a screenshot without telling the user. They were taking a screenshot every X seconds and saving it on the user's C drive in a buried folder under the Windows system for the AI. The reason people screamed and hollered was I was looking at my client's financial information. I had sensitive documents up for my client about a merger and acquisition. I had my personal information up at lunch because my policy allows me to check my banking during my lunchtime. So all these different things where it could have been capturing screenshots of very sensitive information and storing it on the C drive. When Microsoft first got yelled at for that, their defensive response was, yeah, but it's only on their C drive. What's the concern? And all of us go, hackers, key loggers, remote access that people don't even know there's a hacker sitting on their computer and now they have access to that folder. That's why. That's one reason as to why. But yes, all these AIs do take up space. That's again why ChatGPT and others in web browsers are so popular, because it's not filling up your stuff. The processing is happening in those data centers in Utah or wherever they're building them. But it's not a huge concern to me, and we haven't seen it across our client base since Copilot's been shoved out to everybody. We haven't had machines come back that the hard drives are full. It's a good question. It's just at this point in time, they're processing it on cloud servers, not in data centers, not on the machine itself. Unless you install cloud code and some of the standalone applications, then it's no different than installing Adobe. It's going to take up some space.
Okay. That's all the questions, and we are out of time. Thank you, everybody. Great questions. I think it shows how interesting this topic is, because I think the very first thing Bob showed here was how quickly people are starting to make this just part of everyday tools. It's at an exponential rate increase.
Yes, can't avoid it, and it should be used. It's just delicately and carefully.
Yeah, exciting. It's kind of like, going back in time to when the internet first came out. So,
yep.
So anyway, thank you for joining today's session. As a reminder, we're going to upload a recording of the session to our website for future reference. And then please follow BridgePoint Technologies on our social media pages. That's where we announce upcoming webinars. We also will send emails out to our current clients and to people that we're in regular contact with about upcoming webinar topics and how to register for them. And as a reminder, we have more than 20 years of experience helping law firms improve their technology strategy, their cybersecurity protections, and their IT support. So if you have any additional topics that you're looking for help with, please feel free to reach out. Thank you, everybody, and have a wonderful day.